These guys eat like savages. This little kiddie pool right here. I have a little bit of bad news. The Kiddie Pool Bass Pond is complete. What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today's video is going to be all about these guys right here. All of the baby peacock bass. And as you can see, they've grown a lot since I first got them. And they're now starting to fight over territory in this little tank. So to solve that problem, I'm going to be building a little bass kiddie pool pond outside of my backyard for all of these guys, just to give them a little bit more space to swim and grow. And all I really need to build this pond is the actual pond itself. So I'm gonna go head to Walmart and see if they have what I need. Before we do that, let's see if these guys will eat some cut up tilapia or shredded up tilapia. I just got a fillet of tilapia and shredded up with this shredder, so let's see if they'll eat. Well, I know they'll eat, but you guys can watch them. There's some shredded up tilapia right there. There they go. These guys eat like savages. They'll just eat every single last bit of that. Alright, now that the peacock bass have been fed, let's go to Walmart. Alright, we just got to Walmart. Let's see if they got this little kiddie pool. Alright, we've looked through this entire Walmart. Can't find a single kiddie pool, so we're gonna head to the other Walmart down the street and see if they have any. Alright, we're at the second Walmart. Hopefully this one has the little kiddie pool. Alright, this is the pool section at the other Walmart. And nothing here is what I need. Everything is either too big or too small. So I'm gonna be ordering the right pond online on like Amazon or something. Alright guys, so I was scrolling through Amazon looking for a perfect pond for these bass, and I came across this little kiddie pool right here. It is 8 feet in diameter, 20 inches deep, and about 483 gallons. And if you compare the little 40-gallon tank that these bass are currently in to 483 gallons, there's quite a huge difference. So these bass will be able to stay in there for quite a long time before I have to move them into something bigger. But that's later, so don't gotta worry about that. I went ahead and ordered it. It was only about $62, so I thought it was a good deal. And it should arrive tomorrow. But before this thing arrives and before we can build it, I gotta move a couple ponds outside to make room for this pond. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Okay, so this is where I'm gonna put the bass pond, right over here where these ponds are. This is the turtle pond. It should be easy to move. All I gotta do is drain it and drag it to the side. But this pond right over here is gonna be a lot harder. It's made of tarp and I don't really wanna rip it. So I'm gonna have to drain it down, take all the rocks out, take all the sticks out, and carefully move it over to the side. I do wanna do something different with this pond, so I'm gonna take all the cichlids out and then move them into there eventually. But that is for another video. But back to what I was talking about. We gotta move these ponds out the way. Alright, so the turtle pond is draining, and I'll pick up the camera when it's time to drag it out the way. Alright, it's all drained. Let's move this thing. I'm gonna just move it right there. Alright, we got the turtle pond moved. Now let's start draining this thing. Alright, so I'm using the water being drained from this to fill up the turtle pond. Yeah, this thing is gonna take a while to drain. So I'll pick the camera back up when it's time to move it. Alright, let's see if I can get this thing out the way. Alright, there it is. Just moved it over to the side of it, and I should have enough room for this bass pond over here. Okay, so I have a little bit of bad news. Remember at the beginning of the video when I said one of the reasons why I was moving these peacock bass was because they were fighting over territory? Well, the two smallest ones in here ended up getting eaten by the two biggest ones in here. The two golden fogos ended up eating the two Temensis. So to prevent that from happening again, I'm going to move them into the pond behind me. And I'm gonna move all three of the golden fogos since they're the three biggest ones in here. Kinda sucks, but you know, it happens. But I'm gonna go ahead and start catching these guys out and dropping them in that pond. Alright, these guys are fast, so it's gonna be a little hard to catch them out. Alright, I got one. Alright, this is the smallest of the three biggest. Right here. Let's take him into the pond. Alright, there he goes. Now let's get the other ones. Okay, I caught one with my hand, surprisingly. But here's another one. He's squirming, so let's get him in. Alright, there he goes. Now, let's get the last one. Alright, I got the other one. Here's the last one right here. Let's get him in. All three of the biggest peacock bass are in the pond. You can see them down there with the tarpon. 1, 2, and 3. They're down there now. They should do really good in this pond. I think I'm going to end up keeping those three in the pond just because everyone else in that tank is smaller. It's a nice new addition to the big pond. They'll grow fast. Now, I just gotta wait for the pond to arrive and we can start building it. Alright guys, the pool pond arrived. Took a little bit longer than expected, but it arrived. So let's go ahead and build this thing in the backyard. Alright, now it's time to build this thing. Alright, I got the tarp all laid out, and it's pretty big. The peacock bass will definitely have more than enough room to swim around and do what they do. Now I just gotta add these metal pipes all on the sides to make it stand up. I'm gonna do that right now. Alright, so I figured out how to put this thing together without the manual. It didn't even come with the correct manual, it came with the bigger sized one. But I figured it out, it's pretty easy. You just get these long ones, put them at the top, and the shorter ones connecting through here, and the black stub at the bottom. But yeah, it's pretty easy. I just gotta finish it around in the circle. Alright guys, so the pond is completely put together. All we gotta do now is add all the sand and the structure, like the wooden rocks. I'm basically gonna be taking everything from the old pond and putting it in this new pond. But yeah, this thing's pretty big. I can lay down in here, lay out, and I can't even touch the sides. So it's pretty big for those tiny little bass that I have inside right now. Plus the baby bass that we're gonna get in a future video. But yeah, this thing's pretty big. But now let's get to the good part, where we get to add all the stuff inside. Okay, so for the structure in this pond, I basically just want to start off by building a rock structure towards the back, sort of like a rock wall, just stacking rocks on top of each other, building it up a little bit. And I'm going to be using the sandstone rocks from the old pond in here, and I also have a bunch more on the side of my yard. So I'm going to start off with that and see how it looks after I'm done building it. Okay, so I got all of the rocks into the pond, and I'm liking how it's looking. You can see here what I was talking about the caves earlier, how the rocks are stacked. So there's room underneath, making sort of like caves. But the next step now is to add the sticks, and I'm going to be using some of the sticks from the old pond and some other sticks that I have on the side yard. Okay, I got the sticks situated. Now it's time to add all the substrate, and for the substrate, again, it's going to be from the old pond, and it's basically just a mix of like gravel, sand, and some bigger pebbles. I added all the substrate that I had into the pond, and I need about double what I put in, so I'm gonna head to Home Depot, grab a couple bags of sand and gravel, and I'll pick the camera back up once it's all added into the pond. I just finished adding in all the substrate into the pond, so now the bottom is completely covered. Now the next step is just to fill this thing up with water. Okay, I got the pond completely filled up. Now I'm just gonna wait until tomorrow morning just to make sure there's no leaks. And tomorrow we're gonna start on the filtration as well as adding all of the plants. So, I'll see you guys in the morning. It's now the next day and I'm not seeing any leaks in the pond. So I'm gonna be starting on the filtration, and I'm just gonna be using all the sponge filters I had in the old pond and putting them in here. I think I had like 4 or 5, and that should be good enough for here. The bioload isn't going to be too big for the pond, so that should be good. And they're already cycled and everything, so I'll be able to add fish right away. So I'm going to go ahead and put the sponge filters in the back over there, and then I'll pick the camera back up once it's done. Got all the sponge filters in the pond. I ended up putting 6 of them in there, but now it's time to dechlorinate the water and get it ready for fish. I got some prime conditioner right here. This is about 480 gallons, but I'm going to treat for 500 gallons, so I'm gonna add about 10 capfuls of this. You know what? I'm just guesstimate. I'm gonna just dump it till I think it's good. Spread it out in the pond. Alright, that should be good. It doesn't hurt if I put too much either, but that should be good. Now, I'm gonna just mix it up in my hands. Now that the water has been treated, technically it's ready for fish. But I'm going to be adding some plants to this pond. I'm going to put those plants right there in this section right here where they can stick out of the water. And I'm also going to be putting a bunch of aquatic plants in. Here's all the plants that I'll be putting over here on top of the rock so that they can be sticking out of the water. I think that'd be a pretty cool look. So we're going to go ahead and add these first before we add the aquatic plants. I had to get in the pond a little bit, but I got all the plants in. They should start to fill out more over time, though I just put them in so the leaves aren't really facing the correct direction towards the sun, but there they are. But now that those plants are done, let's get the aquatic plants in. I forgot to say this before, but I had a little mangrove plant that was in the platy tank that I'm also gonna put in here. Just put it somewhere in here, I don't know, wherever it fits pretty much. There, that should do. But here are all the aquatic plants I'll be using. I got a bunch of Vallisneria and some other random plants. I took out all of the plants from the old catfish tank. You'll see why in my next video. But I also got a couple more plants from the platy tank, so we're gonna add these in the pond. It's not a lot, but it'll do for now. It should grow pretty fast outside in the sun. Alright guys, so I got all of the aquatic plants in the pond, and I even added in some tulies that I found across the street from my house. But the Kiddie Pool Bass Pond is complete. Now the next step is to add the fish, but I won't be doing that in this video. I'll be doing that not my next video, but the one after that. So stay tuned for that video. I hope you guys like the pond. That is it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace.
The wild monkey getting into his natural habitat.